Good morning. I think we are live.
All right, good morning.
Hey. Good morning, everybody.
I'm John Ahmann. I'm the leader of the Westside Future Fund, here with my co-host, Ebony.
Hey, you guys. Good to see y'all. Thank y'all for coming out this morning. It's a little chilly out there today, isn't it? Anyway, my name is Ebony Ford. I am a very proud resident here on the west side of English Avenue, and I am an even prouder parent of my son, Jeremiah, who goes to Hollis Innovation Academy. I'm all about the west side, best side. Everything else is just the rest side. Appreciate y'all. Y'all like that? Bars. Sorry. John.
No, I lead the Westside Future Fund. I also live in the Westside too. I live in Vine City. So great to be here this morning. And I always like to start this morning by welcoming our new time visitors. So I know a lot of you, great to see a lot of you back today who regularly come to our Transform Summits, but if you are a first time visitor, would you raise your hand?
Yes.
So first time visitors, thank you for being here. We appreciate it.
Hey, Aaron. Thank you.
And especially for our first time visitors, want to talk a little bit about the program we're going to see this morning. So we're going to start with when Ebony and I finish, we're going to have a devotion for a member of our community, and then we're going to do self-introductions. Every summit to build community, we take the time for everyone to introduce themselves, and then after we finish our self-introductions, we'll move into our program. And we're very delighted this morning to have Pastor Kenny Alexander, along with his colleague, joining us this morning for a Q&A, and we're always done by 9 o'clock. So thank you for being here this morning.
Absolutely. Yes, I'm very excited about the conversation today because, like I said, anything that's going to help revitalize my neighborhood that I like to call home, that I love calling home, very excited about the conversation. So it'll be good. And I think one of the things we're gonna do now. Last 2 weeks ago, we had a great ride for the West Side. So we had a bike race, a walking and running, and raise your hand if you were there for our ride for the West Side. So what we want to show you real quick is a video coming. Yeah, thank you for being here. A video coming off the race, and then we'll come back up. West Side.
This is the Westside Future Fund's third ride for the West Side. So we have bike race, we have the run jog, and then we also have walking. You know, in these neighborhoods that we're doing the races today, like English Avenue, Vine City, if we weren't doing this, there would be no other races.
This event was a pastime of John Ahmann and I. We used to run and bike together and felt we could do something with our two organizations to have a community engagement event that promoted health and engagement at the same time. And it's awesome to see the third annual Ride for the West Side.
Part of what we want to do is lift up these neighborhoods and help folks experience them in a fun, safe way.
I'm a resident of the West Side at English Avenue, and I like it. I like it because more attention is coming to the West Side, historical West Side, and it's being brought back to life.
We're definitely hoping that this community engagement activity spurs others to want to do activities on the West Side.
For folks that live in the neighborhoods, that they feel like they had a great time and that we did this in a way that honored and lifted up the neighborhoods. For folks not from here, I hope they'd come and say, wow, we didn't realize these neighborhoods are really on the move, realizing some of the history, what they meant to our city, and a greater appreciation that why these neighborhoods are so important to our city.
To see everybody's actually bringing importance to a historical west part of Atlanta, it's a great feeling to see that. Westside Future Fund's Quest, CDC, has brought the West Side back to life.
If you missed the Ride for the West Side this year, get ready. Next year it's going to be bigger and better.
Excellent. That was an awesome video. It was an awesome event. Got to make sure y'all come out next year, okay? We want to see everybody there next year. And we had 430 participants. This was the third year. And it was also the second year, John, I'm so sorry, I don't know if you said that, the second year that you guys hosted the event with your partner, Quest CDC.
Quest CDC, longtime leader in the community, Leonard Adams. also in Vine City. Actually, Leonard also lives in Vine City. He's been leading Quest
Yep.
for what, over 25?
23 years in August, I believe.
And
Yeah.
Quest is in one of the hardest spaces around affordable housing, which is that supportive housing with a special focus on veterans, especially those that are coming from addiction issues. So we have great appreciation for partnering with Quest, and we will be back in a year, so we'd love to see you back. And to stay up on events like Ride for the West Side, as well as other events going on, not just those sponsored by the community, but lots of other organizations on the West Side, please subscribe to our monthly newsletter. So we got our QR code.
Yep.
You can hit that up right now.
And we also invite you, sorry, John, I don't know if I interrupted you, to get connected with Westside Future Fund as well and engage with us via Instagram, X, formerly known as Twitter, and also Facebook. If you are watching the summit on YouTube right now, make sure that you do subscribe to our channel. And for you guys that are here in person, please make sure that you pick up your raffle tickets at the table when you first entered. We are giving away a Home Depot gift card today and a Goodwill of North Georgia gift card. So make sure you get both your red and your blue raffle tickets, okay? Thank you.
All right, thank you. For those here for the first time or not kind of transitioning to a real special part of our Transform Westside Summit, which is our devotional portion. And so going back to when we started the Transform Westside Future Fund close to 10 years now, we took inspiration from the story of Nehemiah. So the story of Nehemiah in the Old Testament, where he goes back to rebuild Jerusalem, the story of rebuilding the physical wall to keep the residents safe, but the bigger story of a value-based story of rebuilding community. And so we take the story of Nehemiah as our inspiration, and I'll introduce the speaker in just a moment. But we always, to ground our devotion, we have a devotion statement. I'm just going to read it out loud to be very intentional about setting the stage for the devotion. It's become our tradition to begin our meetings with a positive, inspirational message from a member of our community, recognizing that many in our community are driven by their spiritual faith to participate in the Westside revitalization effort. The time at the beginning of our meetings is an opportunity to share various inspirational reflections. While the speakers may articulate their personal faith, it's meant to be inclusive, inspiring, and meaningful with the story of Nehemiah as our guide. So thank you, and I'm excited to introduce our devotion speaker this morning, Dr. Alix PIerre, who is an English Avenue resident, relatively new English Avenue resident. He came through our program, so back to building community, our program, Home on the West Side. He is a senior lecturer on the African Diaspora in the World program at Spelman College. And you said you wanted to encourage it because you don't have a long commute to work, right? You're close to work, which is awesome. Born and raised in France and educated in France and America, and has worked with World Relief, the largest refuge resettlement agency in the U.S., where he designed, implemented, and assisted a curriculum geared to assisting refugees who settle in Georgia to adapt to the new environment. So we know you have a big heart for people. Thank you for giving our devotion this morning, and please welcome him up to lead us this morning.
Thank you, John. Good morning to all. I bring you greetings from Spelman College, the Spelman College community. I want to thank Tamika, Sonia, and John for inviting me to bring the reflection today. And as John indicated, since May of this year, I'm a proud owner of a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom home on James P. Brawley Drive. In the 20 or so years, that I've lived in Atlanta, I've worked and lived mainly in the Vine City, West End area. The first apartment complex, I lived in was the Villages of Castleberry, behind Spelman. Then I moved to the flats on Maple Street across the Benz Stadium and the Vine City train station. In addition to Spelman College, I at Morris Brown and Morehouse. So as you can see, I'm part of the fabric of the community from a personal and professional standpoint. When I considered home ownership, I wanted to remain in the city and possibly in the neighborhood because I like the convenience of being so close to work, having access to I-85, I-285, and I-20. I like the short drive to restaurants, bars, movie theaters, performance venues, malls, museums, parks, sports arenas, and places of worship. When HR at Spelman informed us of a home buying program interest meeting to be held on the campus, I attended. And that's where I met, the wonderful team that you all know, and also the team from Synovus Bank was also present, and I expressed my interest in buying. And when we started the process, and a year later, I became a homeowner. I prayed for buying a home for some time, and at the start of the process, God gave me a revelation confirming that Westside Future Fund was the right partner, the right program that I'd like to share with you now. This message of encouragement and affirmation, is for the Westside Future Fund staff, the mayor's office staff, new homeowners, those contemplating buying from the program, and longtime resident of the English Avenue neighborhood. The text is found in Isaiah 54, verse 2 through 5. But, I'm just going to read two passages that are most relevant in three different translations. So here's, the first one. It says, "So build, build, build. You will increase in every direction. Your people will," and here's the word again, "revitalize long abandoned towns. Don't be afraid, for there is no one to shame you. Don't fear humiliation, for there is no one to disgrace you." And that's the Voice, translation. Now I'm going to share the Tree of Life translation in the latter part of the passage where it says, "Your offspring will possess and will resettle desolate, deserted cities." And finally, from the Amplified Version, "Expand, stretch out, and don't hold back." So here, a few takeaways. For a long time, as we know, this neighborhood, the English Avenue neighborhood, seemed abandoned, forgotten, disenfranchised by the powers that be at the local, regional, and national level. There were boarded up and still boarded up houses, vacant lots, uncollected, garbage, unpruned trees, and wild bushes. You find some convenience stores and fast food restaurants, barbershops, beauty salons, but no anchor businesses like the ones you find in upscale neighborhoods such as Target, Marshall, Starbucks, so forth and so on. And there are so many similar communities in the state of Georgia and the country. But like the Atlanta Falcons football team, English Avenue is on the rise. God is on the move and bringing about changes and improvement. He is in the business of expanding, stretching, enlarging, transforming, rebuilding, repopulating, widening, fixing this neighborhood using programs like the Westside Future Fund and partners like the nonprofit organization, the mayor's office, Synovus Bank, and federal agencies to change for the better the fabric of this community. God is using government officials, the nonprofit sector, civil society, and average citizens and residents like you and me to do his work. We are called to raise what cannot, be renovated, to refurbish what can, to build and rebuild. We are called to do it not only for ourselves, remember the last passage, but for the future generation, our children and their children. That is called generational wealth. To be successful, based on the passage I shared with you, we need to have the right mindset. God requires that we be fearless and unafraid. We must remember that He is with us. So let's all join forces and contribute to the rebirth of this vibrant community. Thank you.
All right, well, that was amazing. Thank you. And just listening to your testimonial and what brought you and your faith and not to be afraid. And I was thinking about the story of Nehemiah, and a lot of the wall was to help people not be afraid, but then to create an environment where people who have such a heart for that could come back and thrive. And so, thank you for that, sharing that message of inspiration. So let's thank him again for that testimony this morning. And I'll say real quick, our Home on the West Side program was intentionally designed to ensure that those who have lived in the neighborhoods, those who have worked in the neighborhoods like Spelman College or Morehouse College or Clarkland University, the HBCUs, live, work, or have learned in the neighborhoods. Booker T. Washington, our graduate, of one of the HBCU schools. So we prioritize, and we're looking forward to welcoming a lot more homeowners in the neighborhood. We have over right now 200 lots that we plan to develop over the next couple of years to give you lots of new neighbors. Tamika, raise your hand, does a great job, our director of our Home on the West Side program. So if you are inspired. And as part of our building community, Ebony's about to start, but we take the time for those that are new now to go through, for everyone to self-introduce. And what we ask you to do is to stand up, take the mic, hold it relatively close to your mouth so everyone can hear. Please give your name, your affiliation, and you may have been feeling inspired to keep on talking, but we ask you just to stop. And not because we don't love what you're going to say next, we know that we will. We just want to make sure we stick to our program time. And if you have things you want to make sure other messages we disseminate, we'd be happy to do that through our social media messaging and others. So, so Ebony's going to move around, and part of it too is to really listen out and encourage you after the summit. Maybe there's someone you hear speak you would like to help serve, or someone may come up to you.
Perfect. Thank you, John. So yeah, we'll start right here. Also, as John mentioned, make sure you do stand up so that we can catch you on one of the cameras. And keep the mic very close. I'm going to try not to have to run around so much because I do get overheated running around here. I'm not going to lie, y'all. I'm 47 now. It's about that time, So if you don't mind helping me a little bit, just kind of passing it, we'll go all the way down, all the way, like swagging and surfing. Okay. All right. Thank you. Appreciate y'all. Start right here if you're ready.
My name is Reverend Hightower with Antioch Ministries.
I'm Reverend Kenny Alexander with Antioch Baptist Church North and Antioch Urban Ministries.
You already know the name, Alix PIerre, Spelman College.
Good morning, Sully Welch with the Welch Martial Art Experience and also the Welch Center. And I brought my son this morning. I'm gonna let him introduce himself.
Hi, my name is Aaron Welch. I'm a student at the Welch Center in 7th grade, and I'm learning from my parents how to manage a legacy.
That's a hard act to follow. Wonderful. I'm Colleen Ayala. I'm an architect with Perkins & Will.
I'm Dejanera King. I'm an architect with Perkins & Will.
Hi, I'm Archie Emerson. I am the president for the Empire Board of Realtors. I am the broker owner of Dedicated Realty and also the owner of NID-ACA, which is a HUD housing counseling agency. I'm also the broker agent that serves the Westside Future Fund. I am the proud broker of Mr. Alix and helping him journey into homeownership.
Good morning. I'm Leila Gill with the Empire Board of Realtors and also NID Housing Counseling Agency.
Good morning, Westside. My name is Anthony Bellows, and I'm a Westside resident and a Westside Future Fund volunteer.
Good morning. Whoa. My name is Anthony Sparkplug Thomas. I'm the publisher of Atlanta's People You Need to Know business guide.
Good. And my name's Dan Cathy, and I'm Sparkplug's neighbor down on Highway 92 and fellow civil servant picking up trash on Highway 92.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Leroy Wright. I'm the senior pastor of First Thessalonian Missionary Baptist Church, and I'm a friend of Anthony Bellows.
I, Neil Shorthouse with Partners in Change, Personal, Social, and Economic Upward Mobility.
Good morning. I'm T. Dallas Smith, a proud member of the Westside Future Fund.
Good morning. I'm Michelle Ogden, and I work at Spelman College.
Good morning. My name is Kristen Mosley, a former Spelman graduate and with Chick-fil-A.
Good morning, Dexter Warrior, Managing Partner at Dallas Smith & Company.
Good morning, Jerome Russell, H.J. Russell Companies in the Russell Innovation Center for Entrepreneurship.
Good morning, I'm Alan Bell with the Atlanta Resource Foundation.
Good morning, I'm John Thompson with Sunbelt Syndications. We're an investment and development firm.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Crystal Hanlon with Home Depot. I chair the foundation and want to make a difference with all of you.
Good morning. My name is Heather Prill, and I'm with the Home Depot Foundation.
Good morning. My name is Kiana Collins with House Tours of Atlanta. I'm a relocation specialist, and I connect people with communities.
Good morning. Everybody knows me because I come. My name is Sandra Bush, and I'm a resident of the Booker T. Washington neighborhood. Booker T. and I have something in common. We both graduated from the Hampton University.
Good morning. Bill Bowling with Food Well Alliance.
Good morning, Laura Heary, and from a background in architecture, I focus on walkable urban places.
Good morning, Jared Geyer, Carly Sanders, YMCA.
Good morning, I'm Allison Toller. I'm with the YMCA of Metro Atlanta.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Fred Anachi. I'm with Cox Enterprises, and Cox is involved with the Westside Future Fund, and also a graduate of Booker T. Washington High School.
Good morning, everyone. My name is John Sidney, Executive Director for Grove Park Renewal, a housing organization.
Good morning, all. Joe Paolini with the Bobby Dodd Institute, proudly serving the people with disability community here on the West Side.
Good morning as well. Deb and Milligan have the wonderful, wonderful opportunity to serve those with differing abilities at Bobby Dodd Institute.
Good morning, I'm Kathy Waller. I'm the Executive Director of the Atlanta Committee for Progress.
Good morning, my name is Paul Bryant. I'm a Morehouse graduate. I'm a consultant at McKinsey, and I work at the Atlanta Committee for Progress.
Good morning, my name is O'Shea Bridges, and I'm with McKinsey.
Good morning, I'm Brittany Edwards. I'm with Atlanta Committee for Progress.
Good morning, Marvin Bussey, Teens at Work.
Good morning, Michael Davis, Atlanta Beltline Partnership.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Devon Morton. I'm an owner of BNC Development and Construction Group, and I'm also a graduate from Booker T. Washington and a resident of Martin Luther King.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Bridget. I'm the owner of Design Show, and we specialize in marketing advertising for public health and affordable housing.
Good morning, everybody. Excuse me. I'm Chris Hyder-Bardill. I'm a resident of Washington Park and also the clinical director for Families First.
Hello, my name is Monita Davis, and I am the founder and CEO of MADDING, Mothers Against Human Trafficking and Domestic Violence. Excuse my voice.
Good morning, my name is Cassandra Kirk. I have the honor and pleasure of serving as your Chief Magistrate Judge in Fulton County.
Good morning, my name is William Flanagan. I'm a resident in the West Side community. Also, I work for West Side Future Fund, overseeing the maintenance.
Good morning, my name is Tia Maxwell Farmer. I'm a community planner at TSW.
Good morning, my name is Assad, and I'm a tech consultant.
Good morning, y'all. My name is Kai Harris. I'm here representing the Southern Poverty Law Center, racial justice nonprofit organization. Come see me afterwards so I can tell you about exciting work we're doing in English Avenue.
Good morning, family. I'm Tillman Ward, lifelong resident of historic West Side in Greater Vine City, which is equidistantly located between downtown, midtown, and Cottage Town. And like you, destined to make a positive difference in this town. Thank you.
Hey everybody, good morning. I'm Anna Shrews. I'm over at Chick-fil-A.
Good morning, my name is Lakeisha Ezel, and I'm the loan mortgage officer at Self-Help Credit Union.
And I'm Mandy Eidson, also with Self-Help Credit Union.
Let's see.
Good
morning. I'm Trevor Gunter, English Avenue resident.
Good morning. My name is Bob Dickinson. I'm the founder and executive director of the STEAM Sports Foundation, graduate of Furman University, where Dan and Kathy started before they expelled him for keeping chickens in his room.
Good morning, everyone. Erskine Johnson with M2TI Ministry to the Industry, and I am the area ambassador for Fellowship Christian Athletes with Booker T. Washington and Best Academy.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Susan Evans with Atlanta Housing.
Bob Butler with Coldwell Banker Real Estate.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Jessica Pierce, former resident of Donnelly Avenue and soon to be resident of James Jackson Parkway, and excited to learn about more of what's happening on the West Side.
Happy Friday, everyone. I'm Karina Ardrey, and I'm a recent UNC Chapel Hill grad.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Daniel Sosofsky. I'm a resident of Midtown.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Claude Gatlin. I'm with Atlanta Area Council, Boy Scouts of America.
Happy Falcons Friday, everybody. There we go. Get a little applause. There we go. Special shout out to Crystal and Heather this morning from the Home Depot. Good to see y'all. Good morning. My name is Tolton Pace. I'm the Senior Program Officer for Westside Atlanta with the Arthur and Blank Family Foundation.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jeffrey Hicks. I'm with Apollo Associates Realty. I want to say good morning to my president over there, the Empire Board of Realtors, and I also serve as chair of the board of directors for the Empire Board of Realtors.
I think some people just kind of trickled in while I'm walking over. We also have most of the Westside Future Fund team along the perimeter. They're always here to help out with the summit. We also have the production team, so appreciate y'all's work.
Maria Supporta with Supporta Report and Atlanta Way 2.0.
Good morning. Good morning, Charles Merriweather, Goodwill, where we put people to work.
Sorry, I'm hiding. Thank you, Charles. Is there anyone else who wants to go who didn't get a chance? Who wants to? You know, no pressure. Okay, well, give yourselves a round of applause. Appreciate you guys.
All right, thank you. So hopefully you may have heard some folks who say, oh, I'd love to meet that person, or maybe there's a way I can help that person, so would encourage you to do that after the Transform Westside Summit. But I'm very honored now to bring up our special guest for our program this morning, the longtime pastor in English Avenue, Reverend Kenneth Alexander, and his colleague, Reverend Terry Hightower. So Kenny is the pastor of Antioch Baptist Church North, and Reverend Hightower is the executive director of Antioch Ministries. Their full bios are in our program. But why don't y'all come on up? Please welcome them. Thank you.
Hey, John.
Yeah, thank you. So what we're planning to do this morning is we're going to have some Q&A, and then we're going to open up to the audience for questions. But just a personal note before we get going, and he's going to appreciate telling the story. This is an amazing amount of history in these neighborhoods that we have the privilege of having on the stage this morning. So thank you, because I know we go back to your grandfather and the history of these neighborhoods. So I'm very honored that you're here this morning. Thank you.
Thank you.
And when I started my work at the Westside Future Fund, one of my first meetings was with a lot of the ministers in English Avenue in Vine City, including at that time your father was still pastoring, and I knew when I walked in the room, and when he came in the room, everyone called him the Pope, and I said, okay, this is an important leader. But it was. I was new, and there had been a lot of disappointment in the past about revitalization efforts, and so a lot of that was expressed in the meeting. A lot of it was hard to hear, but then at one point, your father, which I always loved, he said, "Boys, stop beating up on him. He's just the usher." And I thought it was actually a great a great characterization, because I do feel I'm although just helping connect, but I always remember that, but then had the opportunity. We got to know each other, and now Reverend Kenny Alexander is on our board of directors, so that was real special to us that you joined our board of directors. And what we want to hear more about this morning is all the great work that your church's been leaving in this community. So my first question would be, Reverend Alexander, that your father, Reverend Cameron Alexander, left a profound legacy, not just for Antioch Baptist Church North, but for the entire community of English Avenue, Vine City, and Atlanta as a whole. Can you share how his leadership and values continue to shape the church's mission and the work you do today?
Yes. First, let me say thank you for allowing me to be here. John, the story John just told was a real abridged story. He left out a lot of details. That was a real hostile meeting he was in. And he was the only white guy in there. And one of the guys who had called the meeting went as far as to point his finger in his face. And I saw him take all of that. And I said, that's a strong dude to be able to take all of that. And that kind of won me over to John's side. It's a blessing to be here. Most of the people I want to meet with are here right now. So it's good to be here. Let me go back to my family's experience with English Avenue. Started with my grandfather, who pastored Lindsay Street Baptist Church, where Reverend Motley is now. And my grandfather started in 1947. And so that's how far back our family goes. My father became pastor of Antioch in 1969. But what he instilled in us, more than anything else, was to serve the least of these. We can't do that without help. And I'm honored always to be in the presence of the people who've helped us along the way. Bill Bowling was one of the first people who really got us going with our food bank, and we're blessed to have him here with us today. But we didn't understand how he was going to do what he was planning on doing. It didn't make a lot of sense, but it worked out. And so now our food bank is serving somewhere between 800 and 1,200 people a week. And so that's phenomenal. And just so that you know, we've worked with Kyle Wade, and we've worked with the national food distributors, and they've identified Atlanta as one of the worst food deserts in the country. And they asked, is there anything we can do to inspire other churches, nonprofits, to start food pantries? And my answer to them last year was, unfortunately, no. I've talked till I was blue in the face, but we need more help. On top of the food bank program that we have, our father led us to serve the needs of the least of these again. When we first began to hear about HIV, it was very scary. We happened to have control over the property at 345 Chapel Road, and we got approached by Grady, who asked us if we would take in people. They couldn't discharge people unless they had an address, and so they asked if we would take people in. We told them yes, and there were only 2 organizations that we knew of that would take in people who were HIV at the time, and that was Jerusalem House and us. And so that's how we got into that. And at that time, HIV was so scary that we would have to go to Grady and help turn the bodies so that they wouldn't get bed sores, because even the people who worked at Grady were afraid to go in the rooms. And so my core belief, and I'll kind of rush past a lot of things, my core belief is that when we look at building communities, we have to consider, and we must consider, having centers of faith in those communities. Mm-hmm. The problem that we have, and that we've had historically, and Jerome Russell is here, he can tell you, the problem that we've had is we've always had to have somebody speak on our behalf in order for us to get a loan. The big banks have said they don't want to lend money to churches, but when disasters break out, where's the need? The need is going to be met at the church.
Right.
Even now, we're collecting goods for disaster relief. During the pandemic, and Reverend Hightower can tell you more about it, during the pandemic, it was the church that served as the central point for our neighborhood for COVID testing. We partnered with Northside Hospital, who we had partnered with in the past, and years ago, we partnered with Northside and provided $2 million worth of hospital equipment to go to Haiti after a hurricane. But during the pandemic, we partnered with Northside and they came out and did vaccinations. But we were also able to start serving hot food, not only to the people who were working, and we were working with CORE, who were doing the testing, but we were able to serve food not only to CORE, but to the residents, to the police, and to the fire department who was still working during the pandemic. And again, we couldn't do those kind of things if we didn't have support. I have to thank Chick-fil-A, Dan Cathy, who has stepped in for us on several times without us even asking, but he knows the work that we do, and we love him for what he does. And I want to recognize that I'm proud to be a member of Westside Future Fund's Board of Directors, and I'm proud to be a member under the direction of T. Dallas Smith as our chairman. And my mother was a real estate agent and was in the PIerre Real Estate Board. And I'll say this and then we can move on. My mother is, if you can imagine, there was no good reason back in 1980-something for a church to buy a railroad track. And if we had presented that to the members, they would have voted us out. But God made a way through Bethesda, and Bob Jones is here. God created a way for Bethesda to acquire that property. It did not make sense. You're just getting a railroad track for about a quarter mile. What are you going to do with it? You can't build on it. But God had us acquire that property, and the guy whose vision it was to create the belt line was probably still in middle school. But that's the leadership of God, and so right. God has us in the right place at the right time.
Thank you, and Reverend Hightower, building on what the pastor just said, especially leading all the great service work of Antioch. How does your faith guide your approach to community service? And for those watching and those here today, what advice would you give to other organizations that are seeking to make a meaningful impact, especially through a faith-driven lens?
I think one of the first things is when you talk about impact, understanding how that and what that means. For me, impact is when you are able to see your work come into fruition. With Antioch Urban Ministries, I can see that. And one of the things I would encourage people, don't give up. I think one of the key points of our organization is having hope, and hope leads to faith, and faith leads to conversion, if you would. So when you talk about impact, I'm probably one of the biggest impact statements that this organization has made. So if I could divert just for a moment to tell you how that can impact others. So the person you see sitting here came to Antioch some 26 years ago with a substance abuse issue. And that substance abuse issue led to almost being homeless and several other things. Used to work in corporate America. But Antioch found a way to help me to deal with my substance abuse. So it came as a resident over 26 years ago, from a resident to being an office manager to being assistant director to being director, now the executive director for Antioch Urban Ministry. So if anything, is that don't give up. Okay, if you believe, it's possible. One of my favorite passages in Scripture is, I can do all things through Christ. Philippians 4:13 says, If you believe it, it's possible. But you've got to have the faith to stand through the storms, no matter what they are. And Pastor has taught us, no matter what it is, you've got the faith to overstand. If you've got faith the size of a mustard seed, that can help you overcome mountains that seem insurmountable. If you just keep holding on, God will pull you through what seems impossible to get through. As I look through this room, I see where he's doing that for not only myself, but others that I'm looking at right now. I can see how God does that. So keep on holding on, even though it doesn't look like it's going to happen, but keep on holding on what you cannot see, because it's going to happen if you just keep the faith and keep it strong. Antioch Urban Ministries and Antioch Baptist Church North have taught me that, and has continued to teach me how to reach beyond the break of life and hold on until the better day comes.
No, thank you. Yeah, and thanks for sharing your personal story as well as part of that. Pastor, especially in the historic West Side neighborhood, certainly, English Avenue, the churches have been a cornerstone, really for centuries. How do you see their role in driving positive changes, especially around English Avenue, and what impact have you witnessed from their efforts to support, especially going back to the Nehemiah story, to support local residents in the neighborhood?
Thank you. In my lifetime, I've seen extremely positive change. We were told years ago by some of the big banks that we should leave the neighborhood, that our church should leave the neighborhood. And so many churches did leave the neighborhood. But Antioch, Lindsay Street, Pilgrim, New Springfield, they stayed when others left. Had they not stayed, and they anchored that community for years and still do. And to go beyond what we do, if you look at what Lindsay Street has done over the years, Lindsay Street has provided an alternative to incarceration. They're still serving the homeless, and New Springfield, Pilgrim has a strong youth at risk program. But again, when emergencies break out, sometimes as a pastor, and forgive me for saying it this way, but sometimes as a pastor, it feels like there are times when people forget the importance of the church. They might still have God on their mind, but they forget the church until an emergency comes out. And back in the early 90s, the city had a tuberculosis outbreak, fear. And we worked with the Department of Epidemiology, Dr. Kathleen Toomey, and we designed 2 programs that house people recovering from tuberculosis. We also worked from 89 to 92, we worked with PIerre, Progressive Redevelopment. And back when, and many people may not remember this story, but if you're really from Atlanta, you might remember when the homeless took over the Imperial Hotel. Okay, and that turned into a public relations nightmare for Maynard Jackson. So Mayor Jackson called my father and Joe Beasley, and they went down and negotiated with the homeless and were able to cut a deal with them to leave the Imperial and go into a shelter that they named Welcome House. Then at that time, Maynard Jackson made a commitment to build a certain number of SROs, single room occupancies. And we worked, I think PIerre developed Welcome House. They assisted us with the Walton House. But AUMI was able to purchase the Walton House, which was a 9-story building in the fairly popular area. And we turned that into 144 units, I believe it was, single room occupancies. Those units at one time went for $1,000 a unit. We were able to offer those units at $230 a unit. Working with the Federal Home Loan Bank Affordable Housing Program, CDBG, and State Housing Trust Fund, and a local bank. And so we were able to complete that program over a 17-year period. We still are providing housing for men and women who are recovering from substance abuse. And, I don't want to throw anybody under the bus or make it seem like I'm hating on anybody. But we see a lot of organizations that get paid and get grant money, get sponsorship money for raising awareness, but they don't have any beds.
Right.
If you don't have a safe space for somebody to recover in, they're not going to magically recover in 30 days from between 9 and 5. That's not going to happen. So we need realistic programs. But there's so many organizations out there that have that approach. We actually offer beds and safe spaces. And one of our greatest success stories was a woman we took in years ago. When she came in, it took about 2 weeks before she told us the truth. She had over 60 warrants for her arrest down in Americus, Georgia. And she wouldn't mind me telling you this story, so I can tell it. She had over 60 warrants, and they were basically for writing bad checks. After she told us, we convinced her to turn herself in. Once we went down there with her, she turned herself in to the judge. The judge immediately released her to us. She came back to our program, finished our program, got her children back, went and got her master's degree, then got her doctorate, and now she has her own private practice. So that's part of the... And one additional thing I'll add to it is, it's still the case that if you want to reach the African American community, the best way to reach the African American community is still through the African American church.
That's right.
A lot of people get grant money and sponsorship to try to reach that demographic, but they have to come through us to actually reach it. We partnered with Morehouse School of Medicine, and Dr. Montgomery Rice has done a great job. I think 2 weeks ago, 2 Saturdays ago, we had a health summit, and we were able to provide for our members and the community almost $100,000 of medical services in that one day.
For free.
And so, again, you can only do those things through partnerships. And our reach is beyond English Avenue, it's beyond Atlanta. Even when Nelson Mandela was released from prison, before he ran for president, Nelson Mandela came to Atlanta. We helped host Nelson Mandela. He came to the church and sat down with us, and he actually showed us the scarring on his ankles and the swelling on his ankles from what he had been through. And then we sent a team down to South Africa to be with Nelson Mandela during the election, and then he was voted president. We've also worked in Haiti, and so our reach is far-reaching. We try to go where the need is, and we try to go where our support systems allow us to go.
When we put up this picture, I don't know if you wanted to...
No, that was back when I had hair. I remember that guy.
Yeah, that's a great picture. Yeah. Well, we'll do, one more question. We'll open up to the audience, and I'll start. Reverend Hightower, having been in the community so long, I mean, it's for both of you, but as you look ahead, especially from the perspective of Antioch Urban Ministries, what are your hopes for the future of the Westside community, especially, English Avenue?
As we continue to do what we're doing and provide the level of services from our food programs to our clothing programs to really focusing on the housing issues, because housing is one of the #1 issues once you get a person through a program, regardless of what it is. Not just housing, but affordable housing, and not just affordable housing, but real affordable housing. Defining what that really looks like. From Antioch Urban Ministries' perspective, we want to continue to make a strong mark in that area to improve that opportunity for those who are coming to the West Side, those who are already in the West Side, to equal out the opportunity, not just moving people out because they cannot afford to stay here any longer because of the rising cost of maintaining our home. So I think that what we want to do is to continue to look at how we can improve what we already do and go to the next level to make that even better. We want to reduce the need for food to come to our food bank. It's great that we're here, but why are we here? Why is it that people are still needing to come to a food bank? It's great that we're able to serve over 800 to 1,200 people, but why? So we want to look at those whys and try to address some of that. What's the impact that we're making in our substance abuse movement? Yes, our success rate may be around 35, 45%. That may seem low, but when you consider the time frame it takes to place a person and then getting that person to the next level of permanent housing, not temporary, not transitional, but permanent, that's a great success rate. Past that, we have I don't like to refer to youth at risk anymore because all of our youth are at risk, okay? So we have a youth mentoring program. Let's make the mentoring program be what it should be, giving these children something positive to do every day, all year round. When they get out of school, and I was growing up, we had a place to go. If it wasn't Grandma Nana's house, it was over. You go to the local pub around the corner, the community center around the corner, and you would have something to do. You know where we had to go? The church. Every day, something was happening at the church, and that's what's happening with us now. We're always doing something at Antioch Baptist Church North and with Antioch Urban Ministries. So I think that as we navigate in this future, we have to do better, have a better understanding of what the people want, not what we want for the people. So doing those types of surveys, and Reverend mentioned this earlier, but I want to elaborate just for a moment, if you would. We have a new collaboration that we started with Morehouse School of Medicine. We have seen 60 students come through as first-year medical students to come to Antioch Urban Ministries once a week, and they spend 4 hours with us. That 4 hours is very important because what it does, it teaches future doctors how to impact the community they're going to be working in, right? So they're there to do community service work, to come up with a social determinant that's going to affect the community in a positive way. And how do you do that? You engage the community, right? So that's what these students have done. Some of the work they've done is produced housing module booklets on how to procure, look at getting a solid place to stay. We developed an 8-week curriculum for seniors. So often, especially during COVID, we found that seniors were at home isolated. Nobody was really checking on them because they didn't have anyone to do that. So through our senior services program, we developed a program to do well checks, make sure they're medication compliant, make sure that they have food. Well, now we have a program that gives them an 8-week curriculum, developing different calendars, learning how to use Microsoft Word, learning how to use Excel. Some of those things are second nature to some of us. For them, that was a very scary thing. If I turn it on, am I going to blow something up? So learning how to navigate that area, really giving opportunities to people who don't have it, even though we think everyone should, they don't. So we have to really broaden our perspective of what it's going to take to really make positive impact in our community. As we navigate forward, there's a lot of people in here that are doing great work in the community. I think one of the other things is collaboration, partnerships. You're not by yourself. You're not going to be successful by yourself. But if we collaborate together, and as Reverend Alexander says, it's great that people want to go out and do resource and provide information, but you need to have somewhere for somebody to go. Yesterday, before I left, I had a young man show up. I had to find somewhere for him to go. There is nowhere here in the city of Atlanta for a substance abuse person. There is nowhere for someone who's unhoused to really lay their head last night. So we had to find a facilitator process for him to be able to lay his head and wake up in a safe environment, because it's 40 degrees last night. We all had pretty much comfortable places to lay. He would not have had that. She would not have that. So I think we have to do a better job of creating not just resources, but true resources. Not just saying that you can go here, but when I go there, I don't need to be referred to this. I need to know that once I get here, you're going to take care of my needs. That's our goal.
Right. No, thank you. And you mentioned partnership multiple times. So if people are here representing organizations and they would like to partner,
yes,
they can come see you.
Most definitely.
And just the way y'all talked about Morehouse Medical and others, you facilitated connections into the community. Be happy to do that. No, thank you. And so, Pastor, so as you think about, especially from the perspective of having seen so much in these neighborhoods through the years, as you think about your hopes for the future of English Ave and the Westside community, and your hopes for the role of the church in that future, how would you answer that?
I think you mentioned it earlier, or someone else mentioned it, but you can imagine down through the years, we've dealt with so much disappointment with organizations who were coming in to fulfill Nehemiah's call. And I won't even list, I was getting ready to start naming some, but I won't name them because it doesn't matter. Westside Future Fund, the reason why I'm on the board is because of the work that you're doing. It's unbelievable. And Westside Future Fund is a model of how you can bring people of different races, people of different professions, people of different religions together to tackle the real issues that we all have to deal with. When I look around the room, you know, everybody that we need to change English Avenue, Vine City, and Atlanta, basically sitting in the room right now.
Amen.
So I think that the more we get to know each other, the stronger that we build our relationships, the more we meet, the more we grow together, the more power we'll have to be able to change the city for the better. And again, I applaud what Westside Future Fund is doing and what we've been able to do. And I thank God for our philanthropic investors and those who really believe in the cause. Because if you don't believe in the cause, and then the way that you come to believe in the cause is you've got to believe in the people who are taking the action. And so Westside Future Fund has an incredible team. I probably shouldn't, but I'm sorry, Brother Chairman. I call them all the time. I call Westside Future Fund at least once a week to get some direction on issues that we're dealing with. So I think we're on the right track, and I think ultimately we'll be used as a model around the country.
No, thank you, and we're going to open up to Q&A, but I appreciate your kind words about the Westside Future. Only speaking for me, what I'm very appreciative of is we stepped into amazing history. We stepped into a frame, a North Star of direction called the beloved community.
Yeah.
So that, for me, our role in manifesting that, but the map for that, the guide for that, was given long ago. And so we just hope to play a part in this. But thank you. And now we'll open up. If you have a question, raise your hand. They'll bring a mic to you. And
Reverend Alexander, thank you. I've known Ernest Hester, and Bill Clement, and a number of people who've grown up in your congregation, and their life in the city adds life. And so it's amazing to think about all the physical helps that the congregation has been delivering. But from my view as a neighbor here in the city, knowing families that for generations have been a part of your congregation has been such an encouragement to me in my faith. How, as a congregation, and I'm kind of getting into Wednesday night, Sunday night stuff, how do you see God bringing new families to Antioch, and how do you also serve the existing or legacy families alongside all of the incredible things God does through y'all in helping with neighbors in crisis?
Amen. Thank you for that question. He said we're moving towards Sunday, so I'm inspired to take up an offering.
That's the key.
But thank you for mentioning our members. These churches in the neighborhood have basically spurred on the spiritual development of families. A lot of our members started off in Herndon homes, but because of the spiritual foundation and the morals and the ethics that we teach and the guidelines we teach, they were able to move up the ranks, if you will, and move into home ownership. With the new generation, what we are seeing is, we got an age group of about 25 to 40 who are a bit more distant, but they're coming back because their children need to be dedicated or their children need to be baptized, and they want their children to have what they had when they were growing up. So we're seeing a reemergence of people coming back. The other thing is, during COVID, I thank God for my sister and brother-in-law. My sister works in IT at Georgia Tech. My brother-in-law works in IT at Georgia State. My father did not, and what I'm doing right now is very uncomfortable for me. My father did not teach us to do interviews and did not teach us to call the news media. What we do because God told us to do, not so that we can end up on the news. But they convinced me right at the beginning of the pandemic that we needed to pivot, and we did. So we got on Facebook, which I did not like, I must admit. I was a little nervous about social media, still am. But we got on Facebook, we got on YouTube, and so we may have 600-700 members in person, but we have 3,000 who are watching. And so we're reaching, and that's that age group that we're reaching now. So we're still learning how to reach out to that group.
Absolutely, thank you.
Speaking of news media, Maria Saporta here. Over the years, I have seen various plans for Antioch to redevelop its substantial acreage. I don't know, for some reason I'm thinking 40 acres that y'all have around your church. That might be low. Can you talk about, one, the struggles you've had about trying to redevelop the site? Because there were some pretty ambitious plans maybe about 10 years ago or something. And kind of what your plans are now for that property, which is obviously key property in the neighborhood.
Hello, Maria. She knows a lot about our history. Well, as you know, and what a lot of people don't want to talk about is, some of the big banks did not lend in that neighborhood. The only way we were able actually to build the facilities that we're in now is because Dillard Munford, who was in the news media at the time, he used to own Magic Market, and I think he was having some publicity problems. He was called a racist for things that he was doing, how he was running the company. But he became a friend of my father, and we had about 40 plus parcels that we had acquired over the years. Again, we weren't able to get loans for those parcels, but we were ready to build, and we couldn't get a loan. But Dillard Munford spoke up for us and got us a meeting with Mills B. Lane, who was the president then. And in about 30 days, we went from having an application that could not be funded to having the best application they had ever seen come from a church. So I think lending has been an issue in the neighborhood, grants, financial support has been issues in the neighborhood. Again, that's one thing I like about Westside Future Fund. They're able to bring so many groups together that they can actually do these deals. And I wish we were sitting on 40 acres, but we're not. Yeah. Probably 19. And I think you did an article years ago, I still remember that article. The real issue was, I remember. The real issue was that, again, the banks were encouraging us to leave the neighborhood. Now, why they were doing that, I can't tell you. And I didn't want to talk about it. I told John it's probably best that I not do this interview because I didn't want to hurt any philanthropic efforts that Westside Future Fund has. But to be frank with you, a number of the big banks have already said they aren't going to lend to churches, specifically black churches. So we've had to fight tooth and nail to get every piece of property we have. Nobody gave us anything, and that property was acquired through a faithful membership and through something we call tithes and offerings.
Good morning, Dr. Leroy Wright, First Thessalonian Missionary Baptist Church. I was past president of the English Avenue Vine City Ministerial Alliance, and we were very saddened by the behavior, shall I say, of your father and others, what we call the old guard. I was naive enough to think that we could form a collaboration of ministers like, we're supposed to be existing before. However, your father indicated that he was not interested in working with other ministers. He projected the image of just being the overseer. He wanted everything to come through him, from the halves to come to him, and he would disseminate. But he doesn't disseminate. He did not disseminate. And what we found was that you're one of the biggest landowners in Westside area. What I'm asking you for is, are you really interested in genuine collaboration with the houses of faith, or are you just interested in continuing being the overseer?
That's an interesting question. I never knew we were an overseer. We've been struggling tooth and nail, and you already know how we serve the community. And I will say this, I'm sorry for your perspective, but my father was the president of the General Missionary Baptist Convention of Georgia, which was over 800 churches that he collaborated with. But as I said earlier, we've had so many false starts with development in English Avenue. My father withdrew from going to a lot of needless meetings. Yeah, that's the best answer I can give you, Reverend.
Thank you.
No, and I think we have time for one more question. Thank you.
I'm very interested in the role of being an emergency hub, and if you could amplify that and look for resources through that line of what you really become. When you look at emergency management funds, it's often towards response and not to preparedness. And I think there's much more awareness that preparedness pays off. So I'm very curious if you've had any chance to go down those lines, whether it's with the state, and that would include the ability, for example, in New York, Trinity Church became the hub after 9/11, and they've drawn on funds to have more bathrooms, more resilience, have geothermal, so forth. If a church, which we know is an emergency transfer point to keep people away from hospitals so that you have another place to go, can you get wells for water if there's a water main break? Can you get solar if there's a disruption to power? Can you get additional funding for gathering? And I think the Inflation Reduction Act really calls out being a resilient hub in order to have energy efficiencies, have solar, have batteries. So I think there's kind of a stacking effect. I'm interested whether that adds to your ability to get funding and finance. So just that line of thought, you really are an emergency hub, a resilient hub.
Thank you. It's good that you mentioned that, because what I haven't talked about is we are an emergency hub, as you said, and we've, matter of fact, Reverend Hightower, when the hurricane hit in Texas years ago, Reverend Hightower drove on the truck that took emergency goods to Texas. Even now, we're collecting goods to send to South Georgia because there's a priority list right now. And the priority, of course, for the state is to get our major ports back open and our port cities operational, and then move from there. But we have areas right now that are still without electricity, still without food, water. So hopefully we'll have a truck leaving Sunday or Monday. But what we did 2 weeks ago as a church family is we went ahead and decided not to stay in that reactionary mode, but we have a proactive committee now that is serving to answer disaster relief. And this is ridiculous to me. When hurricanes come, you have 4 days notice that they're coming. And it seems like the assistance doesn't come until a week after the hurricane is hit. And we've got to do better with that. So at one time we had a good relationship with Red Cross, Salvation Army. we're trying to reconnect with those groups so that we can have a better response time, if that makes sense.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I know you'll welcome people in your church. They couldn't ask all their questions today, but I want to thank you for the discussion. As we conclude this discussion, as we reflect on our discussion, is there any final words either one of you would like to share? As we wind up our conversation this morning.
Now, one thing that Dr. PIerre did not say about the Nehemiah story, and thank you, because I told him I'm probably going to use that for my sermon Sunday. But one thing that Nehemiah had to confront, where there were certain people who were trying to get Nehemiah to come down off of the wall and stop working. But Nehemiah's response was, I can't come down. I'm doing a great work. I can't get off track by the noise, but I got to keep doing the work. And so I encourage not only Westside Future Fund, but I encourage all of you in the roles that you play in your organizations. Don't come down. Right. Keep doing the work. Stay committed to doing the work because, and I'm not trying to be a prophet here, but I think you all see the signs. Things aren't going to get better soon. I believe things are going to get worse. And so we need to be preparing now for more need. And so I would just say, don't come down. Don't stop doing what you're doing. Matter of fact, figure out a way to grow what you're doing and do it better.
Don't come down. Any final words?
Actually, echoing some of the same sentiments as I stated earlier, just keep doing the good work, and the good work will show up. Don't take down, keep building up. As what Pastor just said, I think that's the best approach that we all need to take, because we don't know what the future holds, but we can control some of the way it goes if we start developing and building and uniting the way we should be.
Thank you. Well, even though your father did not prepare you for interviews, I think you did a great job this morning. So let's give him a round of applause. Thank you. You can. Yeah, thank you. And as we,
I have pamphlets also.
As we wind up our program, I want to, back to building community. Dan wanted to introduce a special guest that he brought to the Transform Westside Summit. So I'm going to ask Dan to come up and do a special introduction.
Well, thank you. And John, thank you so much for the program. Pastor, thank you for leading us. I'm sitting here with the conviction that we've got a spiritual problem, as we all do. We're all in need of forgiveness. And once we've been forgiven, it's a lot easier to have a brotherly attitude toward one another. And so I'd invite us all to search our own hearts, to ask the Lord, search me, O heart, know my ways, and see if there's any wicked way in me. And I invite all of us to have a contrite heart, a repentant heart, that, there's all kind of things that we need, but in my view, my heritage and my faith journey and model up by my own parents is that we need spiritual revival. We're going to ask the Lord to please forgive us and equip us. And that was the fundamental issue that led to the decimation of Jerusalem after repeated warnings, was an attitude of independence and arrogance and on, disobedience that led to the consequences that Nehemiah brought about a revival that was what was needed. The broken walls and the burnt gates of Jerusalem was a reflection, just as it is here. I'm about to take off on a group, and we're going to look at the decimation of blighted homes here. I think 137 are still left that need to be cleaned out and cleaned up. But it's a reflection of our spiritual condition. Let's be real clear. And let's pray and ask the Lord to forgive us. Let's ask him to anoint us. His favor will be upon us, that we as a group collectively, with a lot of different faiths that are represented here, but that we could all be part of a spiritual transformation that would take here in Westside. And that would truly be something that would be exemplary for the rest of our nation. To that end, I'd like to introduce a brand new friend, and Spark Plug, come up here. But Anthony Thomas come up here. So let me tell you how I met this guy. I'm riding up down my driveway, going back home on Highway 92, and I saw a guy out there picking up trash. Now, most people picking up trash, there's a bus a half mile down the road, and there's a bunch of people picking up trash together, and they're closely supervised. But Anthony's out there, spark plug, by himself. And so after seeing him out there by himself with another lady with him, I was very curious. So I pulled off the side of the road, and I walked over here several months ago, and I introduced myself, and I said, man, you're a mother by another mother, because I'm known for being a trash picker-upper. And you and I have the same heart here about the issue of cleanliness and so forth. And literally, that's how I met him. And so on Monday of this week, he came or Tuesday this morning, Tuesday of this week, he came up to join me for a construction meeting down at Trilla. And at the end of that meeting, he recited a poem. And I want to ask him to recite this poem for all of us as we conclude our day here, to realize that when we leave here, we have choices and decisions that we personally have to make about what our role is going to be in bringing about the renaissance of this community. And so, Sparkplug, you come on up here, if you would.
All right, this is where y'all applaud. Come on. Thank you. Thank you. I'd like to say thank you to my friend, Dan Cathy, and neighbor for inviting me here today. I was at Trillith on Tuesday, and I shared this poem that I close off my motivational presentations with. And Dan asked me to come out and share it with you today. Is that all right? Yes. Is that all right? Yes. It's called You, and I do have a few on the back of my business card here. So if anybody wants I know you want it for your son. All right, I'm impressed with him already. There you go. All right, it goes like this. It's called You. You are the person who has to decide whether you'll do it or talk. Are the person who makes up your mind whether you'll lead or leave behind, whether you'll try for a goal that is far or be content. Far. Take it or leave it. Just think it over. Time, your patience, and your hospitality.